Professor Hoon Hian Teck.
Mr. Speaker, sir, a debate on the impact of Singapore's foreign talent policy on jobs and livelihoods needs to confront three realities: the lump of labor fallacy, the role of foreign direct investment in job creation, and the mosaic effect in the face of a declining citizen workforce due to a total fertility rate that is below replacement level. The lump of labor fallacy is the mistaken idea that there is always a fixed number of jobs. Instead, the number of jobs in an economy is variable and determined by the interactions between the pace of job creation and the pace of job destruction. The role of foreign direct investment recognizes that in a small open economy like Singapore, with the right institutions and business-friendly policies, an increase in the size of the labor force boosts the return to capital and thus attracts multinational corporations to set up shop and create new job vacancies. The mosaic effect recognizes that if talent is randomly distributed across a given population, then the bigger the size of the population, the greater the absolute number of talented people. As an organizing framework to think about the motion before us, it is useful to characterize the Singapore economy as a country that is linked to the global economy via technological diffusion, a process that is facilitated by strong cross-border exchanges of goods, capital, and people. First, the lump of labor fallacy. It is a fact that even as the size of Singapore's labor force has expanded over the decades since independence, so that there are more people looking for jobs, the number of job vacancies to be filled has increased. The pace of job creation over the decades reflects a changing comparative advantage of the economy. In the 60s to the 80s, as factories were built, the expanding manufacturing sector provided jobs to Singapore citizens, even as the size of the foreign workforce expanded. In the 90s to the present decade, the financial sector expanded and also created new job vacancies. Moreover, real wages were on the whole rising, even though the economy faced adverse economic shocks that caused recessions in successive decades since 1965. It should be acknowledged that the global financial crisis that started in 2008 most likely had lingering effects on pulling down the wage growth in the years 2009 and 2010. But other than that, over the decade as a whole, it is the case that as standard of living has risen, real wages by and large has gone up. Certainly from the year 2000 onward, there came to be some divergence. The better skilled workers continue to see rising wages, whereas in the 10 years since 2000, the low wage workers have seen their wages somewhat decline. But the country has dealt with that, and our focus today is on foreign talent policy. So overall, with technological diffusion, because we have stayed connected to the global economy, we have been able to catch up to the US standard of living, starting from less than a third of the level of US purchasing power parity adjusted GDP per capita in 1965. Second, the role of foreign direct investment in job creation. I find it useful in my own effort to understand the Singapore story to note that even as our total labor force increased by more than 3 times, from less than 1 million in 1978 to over 3 million in 2013. The stock of foreign direct investment, FDI per worker in real terms, adjusted for inflation, increased by more than 10 times. So from 1978 to 2013, the year when I was looking at the trend, total labor force increased 3 times, but total FDI stock increased by more than 10 times. So the stock of foreign direct investment per worker more than increased. Then from 2013 to 2017, just to check the more recent data, 2017 is the latest year that I found publicly available data on the stock of FDI. That's in the Singapore Yearbook of Statistics 2019. The latest year of the data on the stock of FDI is for 2017. You would find that the growth of the FDI stock just over this period, 2013 to 2017, the growth of FDI stock again far exceeded the growth rate of the foreign workforce in Singapore. Overall then, total FDI has grown much faster than total labor force. Moreover, the services sector share of the total FDI stock, because we have data as well of FDI stock divided across industry, manufacturing, services, and broken down, you would find that the services sector share of total FDI has been increasing over the years, and in 2017, more than 50% of the total FDI stock went to financial insurance services, one of the industries in there. So manufacturing has been shrinking in terms of its command of the total share of FDI, even as total FDI has gone up, which means disproportionately more of it has gone into the services sector, and in particular the financial and insurance services, where many of our PMEs find their employment. A direct benefit of the strong presence of multinational corporations, MNCs, that undertake the FDI in the Singapore economy comes from what is known as the employer size wage effect. Large firms, which many MNCs tend to be, are more productive, and they pay more for observational identical workers. So 2 persons who are graduated even from the same university, the one who works at the MNC, holding everything constant, tends to be paid more than at a smaller firm. That's an empirical fact, widely acknowledged now in the labor economics literature. Now, it is true that in the early stages of recovery from a recession, small firms provide a more rapid pace of job creation than large firms in the early stage of an economic recovery. However, in the later stages of economic recovery, the pace of job creation tends to be more rapid at large firms. And workers enjoy pay rises when they join these large firms. So that's a huge advantage that we have got, that even as we have expanded our labor force, the numbers show that the increase in the stock of FDI really has been huge. And that has been a great help in both creating good jobs and overall providing better wages. My final point, the mosaic effect. In the face of a declining citizen workforce because of the below replacement total fertility rate. In the next phase of Singapore's economic development, it is not enough to rely on technologies developed abroad. We must move from imitation to innovation just to maintain trend growth. Much of the catch-up phase in the technological diffusion is probably nearly over. And so in the next stage, innovation will have to drive productivity growth. While MNCs still play an important part in creating new technologies, we need them both for the job with better pay, but also their part in creating new technology because they also do R&D. A bigger share of the source of growth would have to come from productivity gains achieved by small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, that are successful in their innovations. Working in an MNC might be a prelude to stepping out to launch a new business venture, since moving between departments in an MNC exposes a worker to different facets of running a business. A shift in our own education system towards preparing students to cope with novelties and picking themselves up after failures will also help to increase the supply of entrepreneurs to boost the SME sector. However, as an empirical matter, SMEs exit their respective industries more frequently than large firms. Many new business ventures end up in failure, but among the ones that survive, their growth is higher than the average growth rate. Given the high probability of failure in any innovative activity, having a large supply of workers who turn into entrepreneurs is necessary to ensure a sufficiently high aggregate rate of innovation that would need to drive the productivity growth to allow us to attain trend growth as a mature economy. The demographic transition, however, to a declining citizen workforce carries the implication that it will be difficult to sustain the pace of indigenous innovation necessary to maintain that trend growth. Since it is people who create ideas, a declining workforce ultimately leads to slower productivity growth. It would appear then, just to maintain that trend growth, keeping the size of the labor force from declining is of paramount importance. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, sir, Singapore overcame the odds against it when it attained independence by developing the right mindset and academic institutions capable of riding on the opportunities provided by the world. Even as it now faces the challenges of a growth transition, a demographic transition, technological disruptions, and higher workers' aspirations, it will be the ability to develop political consensus and supporting social and academic institutions to continue to embrace academic openness, not only to goods and capital, but also to people, that will assure it of a future with a supply of good jobs and wages. Therefore, I support Minister Lawrence Wong's motion to secure Singaporean jobs and livelihoods while staying open and connected to the world in order to grow and prosper, even as we focus on the other points made in the motion. Thank you very much.